This is your invitation to a journey where relationships are dissected, science is simplified, and the news is hilariously twisted. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Have you had a long, stressful day at work? Well, go ahead, kick back, watch some TV. It might help, I promise. Why? Because the science says your brain-dead couch time might actually be preventing you from having burnout. Don't believe me? Well, I'm here with someone who's researched just this. Her name is Sue Minto, and she's an organizational behavior professor at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Sue, welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
So we're constantly told, and I've had academics on who've done studies on this, we're constantly told that screen time is bad for us. Full stop. But something had to make you think, wait, maybe zoning out, staring at a TV or phone might actually help somebody, like recover from workplace stress. So what made you suspect that?
Yeah, so I think I resonate with what you were talking about. I think I just didn't want to accept that all TV is bad. Being on my phone all night is a bad thing. And, I also didn't want to be always on my case, on my kids' case, telling them that they shouldn't be spending so much time on their phones or playing games and so on. And so I thought that there has to be something to it where, not all screen time is bad for you. Right. And it really depends on what you need and the situation. And so that really led me to investigate this idea that, we don't really know what the strict restrictions or prescriptions are in terms of screen time, right? As in, like we're telling people that they only need 2 hours or they shouldn't exceed 2 hours of screen time a day. And I just thought there would be something more to that.
Before we get to screens and burnout, what do we mean when we say recovery after a hard day at work? I think we all know what the word recovery means, but what do we really need after a particularly stressful day at work when we're unwinding at home?
So recovery means really just suggests that, every day we're expending resources to do our various tasks, whether it's at work or at home or in school. And so what we need to do when we're expended that energy is that we need to find a way to recover it, restore those resources. And so it could be physical, it could be emotional, right? Or it could be also, psychological, cognitive resources. And so those resources need to be replenished in order for us to keep going again the next day.
I know what it's like to get home after I do my show from home, but after the end of the day, just to want to sit on my couch and watch the most mindless TV and not talk to anybody and not do anything terribly engaging. Does that kind of relaxation recovery, does it matter a lot for burnout, which is when at the workplace we're just completely, totally expended?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I think the theory suggests that there are 4 types of resource recovery. And in fact, one of the types of recovery strategies or tactics that we can use to prevent burnout and, that total exhaustion that we often feel is psychological detachment, which means just sort of disconnecting, right? Not thinking about work, not thinking about your family or people, and, just taking a break from everything that's going on in your life.
This idea of household chaos comes up in your research. Can you speak to me more about that? Like, is this need to relax, maybe take some screen time, is it particularly important if I live in a very chaotic household with children screaming and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we sometimes think that the home is somewhere we can just sort of relax and be quiet. But in fact, that's not always the case, right? We have kids, we're married, we have housemates. And so in those types of situations, we measure that in terms of what we call household chaos. And we also look at household size. And we find that, when we're in those situations at home, we do need a break, right? We do need to recover from also the demands of a busy household when we get home.
And what are the activities? And I know I mentioned TV, phones. Could video games for some people be added to this list?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, video games is probably my favorite thing to do. And I have a sore thumb to to prove it. So yeah, absolutely video games. Especially during the pandemic. And our third study was that looked at during the pandemic, where people were isolated as well and needed various outlets. And really, video games was the best way to do this, right? To potentially also connect with friends or strangers and just have fun and not think about what else is going on in the world.
Now, video games kind of surprises me because you think it's kind of like intellectually stimulating. So what happens when I engage in these activities? I come home, I've got this chaotic environment at home, I've got this stressful environment at work, and I finally get my hour on the couch to watch mindless reality TV or whatever my poison is. What happens then? What's the benefit?
The benefit is that you are detaching, this idea of psychological detachment, and also relaxing, right? So you're not physically exerting yourself or cognitively exerting yourself, or maybe even engaging in, whatever social interactions that could actually be a strain on you. Even, positive interactions do drain energy from us, right? And resources. And so doing that allows you to step away from that and just stop doing it. So you have a chance to replenish, to rest, to relax, and not think about, sort of other things that are going in your life.
There's this moral sort of judgment associated with certain activities. Like I come out of my office after a long day, I see my girlfriend laying on the couch in her PJs on TikTok, and I try not to judge her. And I think she does the same thing for me when she knows I have to get some work done and I can't stop watching YouTube videos. We judge each other for it. I suppose in some cases we even judge ourselves for it, thinking that we've really wasted our free time. Should we do less of that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's really key for me. I think we need to be a bit kinder to ourselves. And there's this idea of radical rest, that we really need to do that, right? And somehow we've been programmed to think that resting somehow is wasteful, that we're not being productive all the time. And even the way we rest has to be productive. And, there's certain activities where we're still sort of learning, rather than just kind of going into this mindless state, right? And so there is a lot of judgment, and I try not to judge myself as much when I need that, or also my family, my kids, and others, right? And so I think we all just kind of need to chill out a little bit.
On the flip side of this, we're not making an argument here for unlimited scrolling, are we? I mean, it's got to be time limited. You can't just say, oh, I heard about this research that says that going on the TV is good for you if you're stressed. Therefore, I'm going to spend all weekend, all 48 hours of it on the couch watching videos.
Oh, yeah, certainly that should not be the takeaway of this research, right? And there is a danger of spending too much screen time because it does increase the likelihood of screen addiction, which then leads to other issues and other problems and probably even more chaotic households. So, so that's definitely not the takeaway, but really just to be able to tell yourself and others that it's okay, right? And that some of these activities may be seen as sort of wasteful, but they actually can be really helpful and that you really need it at the end of the day.
Do you have any insight into what that line is between restorative screen time and screen use that is really problematic?
Yeah, so I think that's what I set out to do in this research, and I haven't quite figured out what the exact number of minutes is, because it does depend on what you do and what type of screens you're engaging with. So even on your smartphones, you could be just doom scrolling versus chatting with your family or reading a book, right? And so there's really quite a lot of variation. But there's probably some research that maybe looks at how much fatigue you feel in your eyes, right? In particular, because that's that can lead to eye strain. And so so I think that's more research to be looked at to sort of pinpoint exactly how much time is needed.
Would you say to someone who's listening, exhausted, stressed, about to crash on their couch with a show or their phone, just don't judge yourself too harshly, but maybe don't do that for all 24 hours of the day?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I think the idea is that we shouldn't get to that point, right, where we feel like we need to crash for 24 hours.
Well, Sue Minto is an organizational behavior professor at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Sue, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, David.
My name is Jordan, and I'd like to invite you to join me on The Canadian Gothic, a podcast covering stories of Canadian crime, mystery, and the offbeat. The Canadian Gothic blends the spirit of late-night talk radio with the depth of a documentary film and applies that approach to both developing stories and historical cases. So if you're drawn to the dark, mysterious, and offbeat, search for and subscribe to the Canadian Gothic wherever you find podcasts.
You were listening to Canadian Gothic.